we are on bagels. So this is 5 ounces of grandma's white dough that we put in the refrigerator yesterday. So the key to a good bagel is to have a cold fermentation on the dough and also to boil it first before baking. So you just round it like a boulet or a big dinner roll. And then we found this little contraption that's going to give us a hole, but you can also just use your thumb to push through it. And then you have to anticipate the oven spring. So what the oven spring does, the bagel grows together, and then you end up with not a hole in the bagel. And if you put that in the display case, everyone wants to know what it is. So, and this is why we put an extra big hole in there. And that is a sprayed pan. So we spray the bottom first. And then what we're going to do is we're going to boil them in preheated water that's boiling. And it's going to boil for about 15 seconds on each side. And then afterwards, we egg wash it. And we do some plain, some will put cheddar cheese on top, and others will do a seed mix, which is poppy, sesame, and sunflower seeds. And it's really easy to add, and those are our little bagel bites, so we'll put it on our sample board. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the boiling. So it is just before Valentine's Day, so we got our chocolate hearts, and then we also have our chocolate heart cookies, and then I'm going to follow my wonderful baker. And this is all she did, all by herself today. A lot of bread. And then here she's got a bunch of dinner rolls, the chocolate cookies, and this is a chocolate pecan pie. We had bread proofing here of our triple chocolate bread. Then out of the oven is king's cake. But it hasn't been dressed yet, so you can't hardly recognize it. And so we're going to put a lot 3 colored sugars on top. And then, so here's what we use to boil the bagels. This is kind of a simple home device, basically. And so she's going to put the bagels in there for about 15 seconds each side. And then if you notice, she's got a slotted spoon ready, because that'll drain those. Yeah, that's all right, go ahead. And that would be our slicer. So they just generally kind of get to a point where they're floating on top a little bit. And if you leave them in there too long, they kind of melt and they get more deformed. So, but if you don't leave them in there long enough, they're not chewy. So kind of shoot for about 10-15 seconds per side. And then we're going to do the next batch. And then while she's doing that, I'm going to grab the egg wash. And the egg wash, basically we just add a cracked egg and we kind of break it up. And that's what's going to turn the bagel into a nice like golden color. And Mika, what did you put in that water?
I usually put the pinch of salt and then baking soda.
Okay, so baking soda and a pinch of salt. So we used to add honey to it, and a lot of recipes will call for like a malt syrup. And we don't have that in the bakery, so I just use honey. And that worked pretty well, but then we made it without honey, and to be honest with you, there wasn't really any taste differential. And so if you can eliminate steps in a commercial business, it's going to save you time. All right, so then we just, little pastry brush, throw a little egg wash on those. And so there's always like a pretty one and kind of an ugly one in the batch. So the pretty ones we leave plain. And, you know, the not so pretty ones, we put cheese on top or seeds or somehow they won't see it quite as much. And it's easy to put toppings on bagels. It's harder to get it in the dough. So if you want to put a, like blueberries, so to speak, you would thaw out your blueberries, but you have to mix them in when you do the honey, flour, water, yeast, and salt. And that is what the base of these bagels are. So the three keys is one is a cold fermentation of the dough. Two is the boiling process, and you want to add just a little pinch of salt and baking powder on that bagel. And then we're going to bake. And preferably you bake in a hotter oven. And so I like to bake the bagels around 400 degrees, and that would be for about 20-25 minutes. All right, so now these are off to the oven.